Alright guys, we are back for another Dokkan battle video. Today we're going to go and take a look at Demon Goddess TOWA here. Now this is a good example of a character who, you know, we see their kits I really like, but as time goes on, I kind of sour on a little bit. Demon Goddess TOWA, to me, it's... let's give her a sticker, and we'll go over the build I gave her. Of course, you know, this is a character that we want to go full dodge. This is a support and dodging character, right? Her goodness in a run is solely dependent upon her dodging. She literally builds up by dodging, right? So we need to give her as much dodge as possible, but just quite simply, you know, throughout the course of doing a lot of these hero showcases, you know, I'm getting to TOWA almost last here, but I have died repeatedly in these heroes videos from TOWA dying. She really feels like a true dodge or die character, which, I mean, she probably shouldn't be. She should have a little bit more defense. I mean, a character dying if Fusion, Zamasu, or Omega Supers yet, sure. But, I mean, TOWA's been dying to 700k supers. I mean, that's like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're a real dodge or die character at that point. Let's hop in. I mean, she does have a lot of stuff, right? But I just feel like maybe she just doesn't have enough stats. A little bit more stats could be useful for her. Let's go over. Again, she's got a good kit, so we'll see here. Alright guys, let's go ahead and take a look at what our girl Demon Goddess TOWA is going to put up for us. This could be a good first turn for us. We get her built up pretty fast for here, which would be good for us. So for starters, her link set is definitely something I'd probably consider an issue, probably. But I mean, as a dodging support unit, you could get away with links being iffy, right? In my experience, if a character is insane defensively, or like a potential floating support type character, you could live with their links not fitting with the team or being great or something like that, right? Like something like I don't know, like a leader, like that, like a character you'd want to do damage, having an iffy link set could certainly be an issue, but I mean, TOWA not having her links, I mean, we would be able to survive, right? But she's got Demonic Power, Solid Support, Battlefield Diva, Master of Magic, Thirst for Conquest, Scientist, and Shattering Limit. Now, the thing about Demon Goddess TOWA, and one reason I really did like her, is that unlike most of the heroes characters, Demon Goddess TOWA, she has no restriction at all, anywhere, for crossover or Dragon Ball Heroes. So for TOWA, she could actually be relevant on other teams. Let's go and take a look at this. So TOWA has crossover, Dragon Ball Heroes, Peppy Gals, Time Traveler, Terrifying Conqueror, Sibling Bond, Battle of Wits, and then what is the last one? That's Dragon Ball Seeker. So on a lot of these categories, I mean, TOWA's giving all allies 3 key, 40% attack and defense. She could be a character we could bring legitimately on any of these teams. If we get good luck, she can be an asset. It's just, I've found her to be a character that fails for me. It's just that simple. I mean, you can only run a character so many times where they just die over and over before you turn on them, right? Like, it's like, a lot of people don't like the UI Gokus because they just simply die for them all the time. If you're going to lose all the time with a character, like, why are you going to like them, right? Like, it makes sense. Alright, let's take a look. So, another thing that's definitely a big issue here, TOWA's super attack effect. 30% attack, and then she lowers enemy attack and seals. I mean, the seal and attack debuffing is good. Battlefield, Super Battle Road, we'll take that. Again, on a floating support, I like that. But, I mean, my girl can't get defense right there. She can't get 30% defense. It does matter. I know people will like to, you know, say that it doesn't really matter too much. Sure does. Sure does. So she's getting 180% attack and even start a turn. All allies 3 key, 40% attack and defense, which is good. 50% chance to get an additional 10% attack for all allies. 50% chance for an additional 10% defense for all allies. So here's the issue right here, one of them. High chance to dodge when HP is 50% or more. That should not have a restriction on it, number one. And number two, she should just be 70% chance to dodge too. I mean, this is a this could be a very, very nice villain character. If she just had 70% unconditional dodge, I mean, she would be obscenely busted. But who cares? Right? This is a character that could really help some of these villain teams. I mean, you just toss her on Time Traveler, Terrifying Conqueror, Dragon Ball Seeker, Battle of Wits. Like, a lot of villain teams she could impact, right? That could be good. And while we still could use her, her effect is not going to be as good as it could be. Then she gives Extreme Class allies 60% attack and defense, and she recovers 50% HP when HP is 50% or less once only. That's a crazy ability. So she would be giving potentially 110 support to Extreme Class allies. 110! 110 is what she could give. Is that not ludicrous? 110% support is insanity to Extreme Class characters. Right? I mean, that is really nuts. And then finally, she gets 40% attack and defense with each attack evaded up to 120%. So let's see. This is a very strong turn for TOWA. Yeah, she doesn't have multiplicative buffs, right? So, well, she does when she dodges, of course, but, like, we have to get the dodges off first. What I'm saying is, like, she's not gonna, super, and then she gets a bunch of defense. She gets no defense on super. None. Like, that is her defense right there. That's 300k, which is certainly not too good right there. All right, so let's see. Let's see what we get. Just give us the dodges, girl, and then we can get built up right away. Okay, perfect. That's 40% attack and defense. Okay, we didn't get any right there. Sure. 7 million. I mean, that's certainly something I'm going to take on a dodging support. But again, we need her to keep dodging to build up. She didn't dodge there. All right, here's a super attack. We'd love this to be a dodge, obviously. And she does dodge that. Okay. So, I mean, that's a good turn. She dodged the one that truly did matter. So she needs to dodge 3 attacks to fully build up. We dodged 2 right there. Let's come back next turn and see what her stats look like after we've built her up a little bit here. Alright, so we got a couple of dodges in. Let's see what our girl TOWA is up to here. So she's up to 553. I mean, that's certainly much better, right? At this range, a lot of the boss normals, she should be okay against, right? Well, I mean, she is a villain character being hit by a villain. Now, I mean, if Physical Fusion's a monster who super attacks, not her, but he super attacks and gets his attack buff, I mean, yeah, he's going to be doing damage to her. It certainly could be an issue because, remember, she loses her dodge once you fall below 50%, which, if you're fighting one of the big boss fights, I mean, that's probably going to happen. Yeah, you gotta give her a dodge build, I'm thinking. Now, remember, we could still get one additional sort of buff here, right? Like, she could get one more dodge. We could get a little bit more stats. So let's go ahead and try and get this in. Okay, perfect. So now TOWA is fully built up. She's at 11 million fully built up. Okay, we could take a little damage here. And, also get her full passive activated. I would like to see that. That's why this fight, oftentimes, the enemies in this fight do tend to do a little bit of damage. I'll probably just leave it like this. We'll see if we'll take any damage here. We definitely need to get, TOWA's passive up at least once. I mean, damn, she did do, so fully built up, she did do 11 million. All right, I mean, that is pretty good. For a, supporting dodge character, I'll definitely take that. Let's skip to the next turn, because the Vegetos are just going to be attacking for the next 2 minutes. Let's skip to the next turn and see what TOWA's stats are cooking like on this next turn. Alright, so now we get to this rotation. Now she's at 734. Yeah, it's one of these things, I mean, if we could early on get her dodges off, sure, that's pretty good. I mean, this is with all 7 links activated. Let's see what she looks like just next to Dark King Fu. So Dark King Fu is obviously a relevant character. We could bring in a Fusion Zamasu, Omega, all these bosses, right? And they would only have demonic power. What do our stats drop to? Wow. Yeah. That is quite a drop, isn't it? Damn. So, I mean, that's the power of links right there. What exactly is giving her all this? So demonic power she had with Fu. That's the first link. This gives, obviously, attack and defense. Then, of course, there's this monstrous link right here we love. This is Thirst for Conquest, which many powerful villain characters will have. So, say we're running her again on Terrifying Conqueror. She could have this with Majunior, Turles, Bojack, Cooler, right? Like, you list a lot of good villain characters that have Thirst for Conquest. That's a common link. And then we also have this Scientist. So that's 20% defense. Now this thing sucks ass. We're probably not likely to have that up. And then there's also Shattering the Limit, which is giving 5% defense. So it really is mostly the combo of Thirst for Conquest and Scientist that's giving us that, like, just so much. Let's actually just do this real quick. And what does our defense jump up to here? So we're at 772. I mean, at this point, I think she probably still would take damage from Physical Fusion Zamasu's normals, so... But, I mean, that's certainly not that... Like, that's not... 700k defense is not dodge or die territory. But if you're in... Like, we're in one of these, like, really tough fights. The thing is that right there at the start... Like, you know, it would be nice if she would build up, but, you know, if she doesn't get her dodges in quick... it certainly could be a little bit of an issue, I would say. So, right, in order to get her stats built up. And, you know, you don't get the one dodge, or, you know, maybe your health falls low early. But at the same time, she does have that heal, too. All right, we can go ahead and get TOWA in slot 1 right here. Let's go ahead and play out the turn and see how we do. I'd like to not use up too many of our STR orbs for Dark King Fu, but we should be fine there. Perfect. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's see. Now, remember, Rose and Zamasu, I mean, they do about 700k, so Demon Goddess TOWA, I mean, at this point, she would eat them rather well. There's a 12 million attack set right there. That's pretty good, right? Like, we'll take that on a dodging support. We'll definitely take that. So what I've had happen, and this is what can happen with a lot of these teams, right, is you get so many characters need to build up in some fashion, right? Some characters need to super and stack up. Some characters need to get hit. Some characters need to dodge, right? You have all these characters that have to do all these things to get to full power. It's very rare for a character to just start out and be what they are, right? Like, that's a very uncommon thing. So I've had it during a lot of these showcases where, you know, during this video, and this is one thing that Dokkan Twitter, I think, messes up with a lot as well. It's very easy to make any unit with at least, like, a decent kit or a solid kit. If you're focusing everything around them, like, most of these characters could look good. But once you go into, like, the constraints of an actual team, and it's like, okay, like, we're going to go up against one of these really tough fights and see how we do, that's where things can change with characters that, you know, you might want to, you know, kind of, like, dress up that they're better than they actually are. If we're going to go into, like, a real tough fight, like, we're typically probably not going to be running Demon Goddess TOWA, like, in slot 1 or slot 2. Most of the time, the majority of attacks are going to be, you know, slot 1 or 2. Typically slot 1, because the reason is because there's, what, 4 spots where the enemies can attack, and 2 of them are in slot 1. So a lot of times, you know, it's going to look like this, where more attacks than not are going to be aimed at slot 1 compared to kind of like the rest of the rotation. So if TOWA doesn't get those dodges in early, she could struggle, and she could begin to take real damage, which certainly could be a concern. Okay, I think at this point, Mira was taking damage from normals there? Oh, maybe I did not underestimate him after all. I would like to come back. We got to get Demon Goddess TOWA. I mean, we've pretty much covered most of what she has to offer for us, except we have not seen her incredible, like, healing, and extra support passive. We need to get a rotation with that active, so let me just go ahead and come back once we have Demon Goddess TOWA's passive activated. Alright, cool. So finally, this took quite a while to get this rotation. Finally, we reached the point where we got TOWA's passive to activate. So we have TOWA fully built up and her passive is up. So remember, on this rotation, TOWA's support is all allies, 3-key, 40% attack and defense. Pretty good. She has a 10% chance for allies to get 10% more, or a 50% chance for allies to get 10% more attack. She has a 50% chance for allies to get 10% more defense. And then also, extreme class allies are getting 60% attack and defense on top of that. And then, of course, as the turn started, we healed 50% HP. So, I mean, this is where we see Demon Goddess TOWA, you know, with her full power sort of activated. I don't know, man. It's one of these things where it's like, we kind of, like, look at everything she could do. We look at the numbers she put up. And this is where, like, you'll see, like, a difference between a showcase and, you know, what has actually panned out for me in-game. Here, I mean, she's looked crazy in this video. Like, these attack, 12 million with everything else she's doing is insane. On, like, a support type character, like, that shit is nuts, dude. Like, she has a crazy kit, but, I mean, maybe I've just gotten very unlucky or what, but, like, I just feel like I've, like, once my focus has not been on her, but on a different character while going through these fights, I feel like she has failed over and over and over. So we'll see. I'll continue to use her. Right, we certainly will get more powerful, terrifying Conqueror characters. I think that Bojack and Gohan very easily could be New Year's. So, like, you know, maybe if that happens, very high chance, you know, we could be running Demon Goddess Towa with like, Bojack and Turles and these characters. And I'll see if Towa can kind of hang tight. I mean, yeah, dude, she has no crossover restriction, no heroes restriction. She's a healer, supporting dodge character. I mean, no doubt about it, she has a crazy kit. Alright, so this is Ingenious Scientist's Sorcery, Demon Goddess Towa. Her leader skill is the Dragon Ball Hero category key for 150% stats. Her super attack is the Inferno Bullet, which raises attack by 30% for one turn, does immense damage to the enemy, lowers enemy attack, and then seals enemy super. It is nice to have some of these effects for, you know, Super Battle Road, Battlefield type situations. A 30% defense right here would help her a lot, especially early on before she's gotten any dodges in. Seems like if you get those dodges and she builds up, she's pretty good, but I mean, if you're running her as a floater, you know, you definitely could have issues where she is not going to get those dodges or those buffs in before, you know, time could run out. And, you know, you're against Physical Fusion Zamasu under 50% HP, so her dodge isn't up, and then she just gets bullied. You know, it's possible. Her passive here, Destructive Sorcery, 180% attack and defense at the start of turn. And she gives all allies 3 key and 40% attack and defense. Then she gives a high chance of an additional 10% attack for all allies, and a high chance of an additional 10% defense for all allies. Both those procs, of course, are 50%. Then she has a high chance, 50% chance, of dodging if the enemy is 50, or if your HP is 50% or more. I just don't see the need for that restriction. It doesn't, I don't know. I do not think I know she's got a really strong kit. She's good, but I just don't see why she need, like, that makes these that could make a character like this is just very unfun, right? Like, I'm not a fan that her dodge is HP gated like that. Then if, you know, the turn starts out and you're below 50% HP, she gives extreme class allies an additional 60% attack and defense, and she recovers 50% HP once only. Obviously, that's a very strong ability. I love characters that have the ability to do these big, you know, heals like this, especially, you know, where we really are in an era where it does feel like healing can just be very helpful. Because, I mean, you fight some of these AoE bosses and you can't help but take a lot of damage. There's almost nothing you can do. When you're fighting Omega and Fusion Zamasu, they're just gonna chip away at you. Like, it's just bam, 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 getting chipped away at constantly. So, you know, it's like having one of these healers can be very good. And then finally, Towa gets 40% attack and defense with every attack dodged up to 120%. There, of course, is her multiplicative buff. But, you know, it is interesting that Towa does not get any defense whatsoever on supering, right? Like, that doesn't actually give her defense, which is just, it's so uncommon these days for a character to be like that, right? Her link set is really bad. Demonic Power, Solid Support, Battlefield Diva, Master of Magic, Thirst for Conquest, Scientist, and Shattering the Limit. To be super fair, Thirst for Conquest certainly is a very good link, a very good villain link. And, you know, Towa's on some good villain teams. We could get, you know, a huge Dokkan Fest Bojack who's really powerful, and then Towa could have Thirst for Conquest with him. That's something that could happen. 12 key multiplier, 140% for Demon Goddess Towa. And then finally, she is on a number of categories here. So she is, of course, on the crossover category team. We also have her on the Dragon Ball Hero category team as well. She's also on Peppy Gals. Fine. Then she's over here on the Time Traveler category team, where she could be a nice, helpful option here, because, you know, Time Traveler, you have such a huge variety of characters, right? And, you know, just an old type support could be good there. TOWA is also on Terrifying Conquer. This could be pretty big. You know, maybe she could be very handy here, for sure. There's also the Sibling Bond category team that TOWA is a part of. Then she's on the Battle of Wits category team, a team that, of course, has gotten a lot stronger over the last couple of years. And then finally, TOWA is over here on the Dragon Ball Seeker team. This is Dragon Ball Seekers right here. Another team where she really could be very helpful for. So, let me know what you guys think of EZA Demon Goddess TOWA. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time.